I can hear you. Yeah, brother, I can hear you, but we're just not recording it. That's all. Hold on.
All right, I'll talk.
All right, I got it on speaker. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll move away and I will tell you a short blurb.
All right.
I hope to bring urine therapy. I'm going to turn off my mic here so I can hear the feedback. Okay. Now, I hope to bring urine therapy to the whole world's attention later this week or next week, okay? Because of the COVID virus lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm an expert witness in the mathematics of gambling in the Federal Tax Court of Canada. I was teaching assistant of the mathematics of gambling course at Carleton University after an engineering degree, and I have discovered some anomalies in the COVID story. Now get this. When they were screaming that COVID's 34 times worse than the flu, 3.4% compared to 0.1%, they were comparing CFR to IFR. They were comparing two different stats. Okay, so in other words, the flu's true numbers are, if you've got 50 million infected people, 1 in 1,000 will die, 50K. You got 100 million, 100K will die. It's about 1,000. Everybody will find this online. But there's another stat called the case fatality rate. How many people end up in hospital because they're that sick and then die? Official cases in hospital with insurance costs. Well, that rate is 10%. So if you make it to hospital, 10% of flu victims die. So if you've got your 50 million infected with flu, you got your 50,000 dead, okay? And you've got your 500,000 cases. So 1% of the infected, 50 million, is 500,000 cases, and 10% of them die. So a tenth of 1% is 0.1%, which is 1,000, which is the famous number bandied about flu. 1 in 1,000 infected people die. But when you're talking about the CFR, that's the serious hospitalized cases. How many of them die? 10% for flu, up to 13. A bad cold can be 8% CFR. Well, when I heard them saying that COVID had a case fatality rate of 3.4%, I started dancing in the streets. I said, wow, that's a third of the flu. Oh, my God. Now they came out with the asymptomatic transmission theory. That, anybody can have it, so we have to wear masks because a person without sniffles could have it, and we have to social distance in case somebody without sniffles has it. Well, way back in April, WHO announces there are no documented cases of transmission from asymptomatic. Then in June the 2nd, Wuhan said we did 10 million tests. We only found 300 asymptomatics, and none of them spread, 0. And then in June, the lady at the WHO announces, asymptomatic transmission is very rare. Then they made her walk it back because we haven't got enough information yet. Hey, lady, if you ain't found any, that's very rare. So, and now as recently as now, they're still talking about no documented cases of asymptomatic transmission anywhere. So, you don't need to believe that fear. And I wrote a poem about it, okay, at smartestman.ca/Fauci, where I go through, how he scared the president by comparing 3.4% CFR to the flu's 0.1% IFR when its CFR was higher than the COVID. Whoa! Talk about hyping a panic. Then they came up with the asymptomatic spread to force lockdown. And last but not least, November 15th in Canada, CTV announced that there were 10,947 deaths, 10,781 in long-term care. Now, they didn't do the subtraction to say that only 166 out of 38 million Canadians died. Okay? That's 1 in 230,000 who aren't in long-term care. The threat of COVID is a joke. So, being an expert in the mathematics of gambling and math in general, I am now, here's what's interesting. How do I bring it to the world's attention? Well, I am a med pot fighter to legalize med pot in Canada. I've been leading the war in the courts for 20 years almost. And a few years ago, when a judge canceled half of the patient permits for self-grows in Canada, I helped them fight in the federal courts to get their permits back. It cost $2 to file a federal court statement of claim against the government. And so 400 people signed up to ask to get their permits back, with one guy doing the talking. Then later on, when it became more illegal, Health Canada was stalling permit processing for like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months before you got your permit to grow. You could send it to an LP and get your delivery next day. But if you wanted to grow yourself, it took 6, 8, 10 months to get a permit. So I came up with a federal court template to allow people to ask the judge to give it to them right away while they're waiting, because their doctor signed. And 400 people spent the $2 to speed up their permits, and a lot of them, Health Canada hacked to it, gave it to them so they could get off the action and cancel it. So I am an expert at organizing people to use template legal arguments to file cases of importance. My original ones were back in the 1980s during the 22% interest days, where I helped poor people stall their foreclosures by filing a self-defense kit that argued that interest was a violation of all sorts of criminal laws and biblical laws and stuff like that, and that we were going to pay the principal but stiff them for the usury, like the slothful servant did in the Bible. So anyway, that was another case where 50 or so people used my self-defense kits to stall their foreclosures. My most famous stall in Toronto, 33 months. So now I am writing up a new kit right now, and I'm going to be the lead plaintiff. And it's going to ask for a declaration that I want prohibition on any COVID mitigating restrictions on my civil rights. I don't want no lockdown. I don't want no quarantine. I don't want no immunity card. I don't want to be forced not to go anywhere or do anything because of this feeble flu, we'll call it, okay? And if you're not going to impose restrictions on the flu, then don't impose those restrictions on the COVID. And so that's my statement of claim. And I'm going to be able to put up a $2 statement of claim that anybody can pick up and file in the Federal Court of Canada. And you can see the country is in an uproar over these lockdowns when no one's dying. And so I'm going to be, now because I've already had 400 to 800 Canadians file my $2 kits to tell the government they were pissed off, I got, these were like samples of 15,000 patients, okay, where I got 400 twice to file for $2 in the courts to make a bitch. And they heard us. We swamped the registry at the court. We swamped the crown attorneys. They said it was unprecedented, extraordinary, to be swamped this way. Well, now imagine now my sample isn't 15,000, but it's going to be millions of pissed off Canadians who can fill out a PDF and they can file it online. And then they get a call the next day for their credit card to pay the $2, and they get a nice statement of claim with a gold star saying, I also want an exemption, personally, from any possible things that are going to happen in the interim until we decide whether to scrap the whole thing. So, using my mathematical analysis to show that they fudged the numbers, the fear factor, by a factor of 100, that they imposed a false theory of asymptomatic transmission. And like Richard Feynman, it doesn't matter how beautiful your theory is or how smart you are, if it disagrees with experiment, it's wrong. And here we have their theory of asymptomatic transmission. They found none in April, and in June they announced Wuhan none, and then very rare, and then finally still none, and they still want us to keep wearing masks. So they're still, oh, by the way, NIH and Fauci are saying asymptomatics have caused 50%. Now, Wuhan says 0. WHO says 0. But the NIH and NIAID, they say 50% of the infections were caused by asymptomatics. Okay, so the hype is still going on. I've got it all. It'll be a PDF with live links, so that everybody who is going to be able to decide whether they want to file this complaint with me in this uproar against this phony lockdown, this unnecessary lockdown against this phony fever flu, can for $2 join the screen and really flood the registry and flood the Attorney General's office with files. I mean, this could get into the millions because it's doable all online. All you got to do is grab the template, stick in your name. I'm going to leave a page. Oh, the Urine link. Remind me. And then I'm going to leave a page where people can add their own personal woes and losses, because I'm also acting for damages. Okay? Now, people who have to shut down and lost everything, they should be able to claim for damages. Now, here's the point. How is the government going to claim to pay off $1 trillion worth of damages that cost our economy with all our people in suffering? How are they going to do that? Well, I also have a way to do that. I'm the guy who's been pushing interest-free banking at the Bank of Canada to start using the interest-free window at the Bank of Canada again, like in the 30s, when you could borrow interest-free, build a road or a building, and then pay it off as a depreciator. Interest-free for the rest of your life. So here's my point. If the government has to borrow $1 trillion to give every Canadian what they need to cover their losses that they suffered, and then the government has the rest of its life to pay it back interest-free, where all payments go against principal, I can't imagine any voter complaining about the government who did it to me getting in the hole in debt to pay me back, and then we don't mind chipping in as you now earn your way back up. Okay? So, now the Urine link I was going to get to.
Thank you, John.
I'm going to say, here's my point. I don't want new vaccines because they're untested and and there's no way they could have tested combinations. The need to test goes up as 2 to the n. If you had 10 vaccines, that takes 1,000 different combinations. 2 to the 10th, yeah. 2 to the 10th is 1,000 different combinations. 2 to the 20th is a million. 2 to the 30th is a trillion. That's how they go up, okay? 2 to the 10th. So 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, to 1,010 steps. So the, I don't know, where did I go with that?
Urine therapy, John.
Oh, yes, back to the urine. Well, anyway, I don't want to have to take their vaccines whose combinations haven't been tested for combinations with other vaccines. Let's say you've got 1,000 combinations with 10 to test. When you go to an 11th vaccine, you got this group without testing it, and then you got a whole new 1,000 to test with it. It doubles. Doubles and doubles and doubles. So that 15 vaccines is 32,000 combinations they should have tested. Probably didn't. So untested vaccine is an argument against vaccine, not whether they work or not. If they've been tested, I got a serious disease, I'll probably take it. But I don't take it as a case. So, because it's a contraindication. So that's the point about urine therapy.
Urine is our vaccine.
Exactly. I'm going to tell the court that I prefer to follow the biblical injunctions of fasting and drinking the waters of my own cistern. That famous line in the Bible that goes with fasting and drinking the waters of your own cistern. And then I'm going to go into how urine therapy cleaned and healed my root canal infection, which is a dental miracle that's not supposed to be able to happen. And with the millions of people suffering from root canal infections who could heal them in 2 days of swishing, 2 days is all it took for me to cure mine. Think about that. A miracle. But don't forget, when you go into the root canal, you're digging around, you're spreading the infection to the smaller capillaries as you clean the big one out. But when you go in and you squish in urine is water, and water is the smallest molecule, and it gets in everywhere. And when you're adding the pressure of the swish, it cleans out that infection, and it heals that infection, and the stem cells get in and heal parts that need to be healed. And I cured my root canal infection in 2 days, 2 days before I was going for a $1,000 operation. And I want to tell the world about that. So that is why I believe in the waters of my own cistern, and I've done a 28-day straight fast. okay, on the waters of my own cistern without any discomfort whatsoever, as well as the 4-monther feasting once a week. So I'm going to be able to bring those up as my choices of how I'm going to deal with this flu. And that lets me bring up the urine therapy to the world's attention, or the Canadians' attention. Because don't forget, the mathematics can be, and I'm, like I said, the expert witness in the task court on that. So if anybody can pick up this mathematics, and they can use it too in any country.
John.
Okay? Because the numbers work everywhere. The lies are the same everywhere, and the truth happens to be the same everywhere. And this is a chance for me to use the technique that I've used of legal court kits in federal court where it's cheap. And you get one guy to do all the argument, and if he loses, only he gets hit with cost, which is a minor number, and that's what's happened in the past. So that I've got that tactic I can use as I bring the tactic to the new fight over the COVID. Whoa, what an adventure coming up.
John, your timing couldn't be any better. I don't know if you're aware, but there are dozens of urine therapy Facebook groups with hundreds of thousands of participants. I've come up with the statistics from the 1994 Urine Therapy Conference in India that there are 50 countries, and now in 2021, we've come up with over 30 million people drinking pee on the planet. We're hitting a tipping point.
Yeah, well, again, I get the opportunity. I'm the first person who chugged them up on video on internet, and I'm going to be the first person to stick in front of the court.
Excellent. You got my support.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Okay. Anyway, once I file my statement of claim and you've had a chance to look at it, let's do this again.
All right. Now, just so you know, on twice a month, I host the World Urine Therapy Zoom conference calls. We got one on Saturday. We're averaging 14 guests every time, and it's becoming a wonderful format and platform for people to plug into this healing modality.
Okay. So send me an invite, okay? Saturday, you said? That's a good day for me.
Saturday, 10:30 Boulder, Colorado, USA time. So that'd be 12:30 your time.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Even I make mistakes.
We got the time thing down, right?
Yeah. Saturday. So, what time, Boulder?
10:30 USA time. 10:30 my time.
12:30 my time. 12:30 my time.
Quick question before you go. What was your influence for starting urine therapy? Was it a person, a book? Were you sick? Were you miserable? What got you started?
I honestly forget. Oh, where I heard, I think it might have been the article of Morarji Desai when he announced to the world that he drank a cup of his own urine every morning. And of course, the world made fun of him. I know they made fun of me in my video, chugging them up. So I know what he did, and I appreciate what he did. Who's laughing last? Morarji or the guys who are still dying? Anyway, I believe, so I mentioned it to my mother, who was coming to pick me up every night at the casino where I was playing poker. And then, a week or 10 days later, as I'm getting in the car, I look over at her, I say, Mom, what happened? You look 10 years younger. And she got in, she said, well, you know, I decided I was going to try that thing. I've been drinking the urine for the last 10 days. And then I glass every morning. I went, wow. I told my girlfriend about it. And then she started. Next thing you know, she is looking better. And then finally I did too. And so it took the two ladies in my life to be bolder than me. But then I finally got into it. And then I had that moment with the root canal infection. And that was like, wow, just opened my eyes and said, this is so bad, an ailment out there, and it hurts so much. You got to tell the world about it.
Wow.
So that basically is when it started.
Wow, congratulations. And do you happen to have a link from that show where you drank it on camera?
Yes, it's all of my videos are at smartestman.ca
Okay.
/ KOTP, King of the Puppets. It's near the bottom. It's episode number 8. some guys in '93 made a documentary about me, and they wanted that shot, so I gave it to them.
You said episode 98?
No, episode 8.
Episode 8.
At the bottom of the page in the early days.
Bottom of page. Okay. Smartestman.ca?
.ca. Yeah.
And
I also own smartestmanonearth.ca. And why would I dare take those out? Because I have the same education as Mr. Spock. Science and the mathematics and figuring out the winningest way to go.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Which I get to apply to everything. Just wait till I do analysis of the U.S. election with bell curve. Because I can apply a bell curve to any average if you tell me the size of the sample. The next thing you know, the next sample I'm going to take that size, what should it be? Well, it should be between here and here so often, and here and here so often. There's that bell curve. Applies to everything. So you can give me any statistic, any average, and the size of the group, and you can put a bell curve to it. And then when the next one ain't nearby, you go something small. Because normal works in nature, and having played so much dice and blackjack in my life, I can honestly attest, things breaking out the way they should.
John, since you've put out those videos, you did several PP Powers for the Poor People series. Are you doing any more urine therapy teachings or promoting?
No, I just comment once in a while when I see an interesting point, or someone recently asked, what's your greatest miracle? I say, well, that's the root canal infection. That could be feared to the world. And that's what I hope to do with sticking it into my statement of claim. Because if the COVID statement of claim goes viral, so does my experience with the waters of my own cistern. And that forces them to go look it up in the Bible. And suddenly, all of a sudden, urine therapy isn't so stupid.
Well, beautiful. So we're going to get this information out to as many people that are open and receptive to hearing something that could change their life. And I've been grateful to be one of the voices. I wrote the book Healing Water from Within in 2018, and that set my course in a direction I wasn't ready for, John. That put me on 30 radio shows and television shows. And my newest book, Manual for Urine Therapy Teachers and Therapists, is doing it again.
Yep. It's an idea whose time has come.
Yep, and we're good messengers. So I honor you for your courage and your commitment, and whatever